And we enter game number 5 between Cerberus and Team Wales. Playoff Lives, Spring Split, MSI on the table as both of these teams competing for the last possible moment, the last possible grasps at everything. Mobby, you said it best when you said that you hated this draft. Now, why do you hate this draft? I have to ask.
Why are you playing Akali into Lysandra, into Nautilus, into Kindred? This is the worst last pick I have seen in a long goddamn time. Now, you know what would have been good? It's something Glory's played a lot.
Orianna.
Gragas. He hasn't played Orianna that much. Gragas would have been fantastic. You can drag people out of the Kindred ultimate. You can you can eject the Swain from the fight. You can do so much more. But this Akali, sure, technically Glory could smurf on everybody and just wreak havoc regardless of the dreadful matchup, but why would you? If he pulls out a B blitzcrank situation, I'm gonna be impressed. But also, you're stuck with a cow, so you're not actually gonna have lane pressure in the bot lane, which has been one of Team Wales' main points of success, trying to have that good early game. Look, Glory's already half health because this matchup is unplayable. Actually, less than half health, and maybe he can be a side lane threat, but you don't win the game through side lanes anymore. You haven't for years, so there's no point in this. It's just bad. It's just bad. And congratulations, it's not Killer Queen on the gear that's dropped the ball now. It's Yuna.
Lysandra versus Akali is what Lysandra versus LeBlanc was a few seasons ago, where it's just like a hard counter, and that's the same place for Glory, where Glory's melee has to like really sacrifice health just to farm in the beginning of the game. Still difficult to make kills, it's a lot of problems. So first off, the fact that they get Lysandra into a solid winning matchup is pretty cool. Now, I want to talk about the even cooler matchup, which is Swain versus Malphite. Mobby, quick pop quiz. How many champions are good into Malphite? The answer, 0. How many of them can live? 1. That answer is Swain. Swain is the only champion in the game that when you build Jack Show, if you pop your ultimate, it doesn't matter who is there, doesn't matter what damage is being dealt, doesn't matter what Malphite has done so far, you will drain tank him to death, and there is nothing that he can do about it.
Yep, pretty much. We even see this is reached a point when Nagira has actually gone for this unsealed spellbook to just maybe try and hold the lane? Maybe try and make something happen with a potential ignite angle if Killer Queen can get up there. But it's just definitely it's an oddball counter pick that definitely was not going to be expected from Nagia, as Drakthar loses the coin flip this time around on the Scuttle Crabs, but yeah, it's just gonna be kind of unplayable, and with the Sunblade missing, Pun should be just fine.
Really, really good stuff. Pun, not even have to burn Flash right there to get away from the gank from Killer Queen, who, by the way, is down a little bit of speed in terms of clearing to Drakthar. And let me talk about this for just one additional second, which is that it's awesome that finally 2 of the members of this team are really, really kind of forcing their way into the conversation. So much of this team's conversation over the last probably 3 years since they've been established has been Artemis and Yado over and over and over again, and everyone else has been an afterthought. As into the mid lane, here we go. Huber was here for a bit of support. They're trying to just buy Glory a bit of space to shove this wave out. Killer Queen and B both sacrifice some time just to be here to make sure that Glory can maybe get a shove out, finally get a back off after the early game disparaging plays that had happened, some of the health loss that had happened at the beginning of the game. But yeah, to come back to this, the fact that Cerberus for such a long time has just been the Artemis and sometimes Yado show, for them to say, hey Pun, why don't you pick what you want? And then also say, you know what, Drakthar, why don't you also pick what you want this game? We'll stick the other 2 on some generic, bland champion, and funny enough, it's actually 2 of the better champions for Yado and Artemis in kind. But the fact that they're willing to leverage their unique picks for these 2 players that oftentimes don't get this attention is really amazing to me, especially in a do-or-die situation. It shows a lot more growth than I thought Cerberus had all season.
This has also 100% been a pretty strong split from Pun overall. He's actually managed to match Emperor in the solo kill stat, like 28 solo kills. definitely nothing to be snuffed at from a guy who has mostly been, who for a lot of his career was mostly written off as the tank guy. He's been the one who actually pulled out the, who pulled out the Olaf first, and really showed up on that, and now he's reaching deep, pulling out the Swain. It's been a very good split for the side of Pun. Really trying to live up to that hype that he developed a little bit of in that winter split, but now Killer Queen lurking around this dragon. So far, it's very even across the board. Just some small CS advantages, mostly in that top side. Actually, this bot lane one opening up a little bit too. So once again, just sort of lane match up at the top side, and this just casual Artemis doing Artemis things in the bot lane, working out well for the side of Cerberus right now. This should just belong to Cerberus. You can't fight this duo.
The really cool thing about this season, or this game specifically, is that there's a ton of control held basically entirely by Cerberus, because they have the mid lane pushed permanently with Lissandra. Their top lane is constantly winning. Their bot lane, especially after some of the early plays with the Alistar, is usually winning in a lot of circumstances given the range disparity, in that Vit went for the call instead of going for some more aggressive type itemization to begin the game. And because of that, it means it's also been difficult to leverage any pressure from Killer Queen thus far. That's not to say that there's not some on the way, especially once the kick comes through. But for the second, at least, it has been difficult for Killer Queen to try to find anything.
Yeah, it's really just an impossible place to play as a jungler almost, unless Cerberus completely forgets you exist, because you have no winning lanes. You've got an Alistar in the bot lane, which means you don't have any real pressure to come out from your support position, especially compared to a Nautilus. You have a negative pressure in the mid lane, you have negative pressure in the top lane. You're just kind of trying to move around and catch. Hold that.
Wow.
There's a fight coming up.
Yeah, there was. And the thing was, it went well for B to start with, and Vit, I think, also was like, okay, maybe we could take this. But Artemis, if you noticed, in the midst of that, dropped a Dusk Wave over top of a bunch of minions, stacked up a bunch of Crescendum, and it means if they full engaged into Huber, B was dead. Like, there was nothing to be done about B dying in that case. Maybe even Vit dies there, just based on the number of chakram that were held by the Aphelios. The attack speed would have been massive to deal with. And so because of that, they have to back off. They have to leave that situation. Not great. It's already a 600, 700 gold lead here for the side of Cerberus, which is insane to think about, as they haven't been able to grab the dragon, but they will be looking at the Rift Herald right now as a potential snag up. As Huber's back in mid lane, they're here with Yado. They've got the push. Yeah, now they understand that the Rift Herald is more than free to be able to grab up. And Killer Queen will simply trade for the red buff on the bottom side. Probably not end up getting the dragon unless he decides to solo it. But ultimately, I think a winning situation is, again, this gold lead could be exacerbated quite heavily by this Rift Herald take here by Drakthar.
Yeah, they might be able to pick on or key on to the fact that there is the backs coming through, the swap up coming from Cerberus, because this has been their standard point of play against these Rift Herald. Swap Artemis up to try and make sure that they can convert these Rift Heralds straight into plates for Artemis. So this will open up a free dragon, open up some plates for Jinx. This is one of the best champions to just sit and hit plates with. So Team Wales just going to concede that they're going to lose more plates overall due to that Rift Herald, but they're going to be okay getting as much gold onto Jinx as possible.
Yes.
Picking up 2 plates and a dragon is definitely not that bad, but given how much work Pun was able to do earlier, this might just end up being first brick.
Okay.
Nagia's aggressively trying to clear this wave, but with a Rift Herald, it still should just be first tower, right?
Okay, well, I'm not sure. I mean, they're going to be able to grab, it looks like 4 plates, which ends up doubling what they got on bot side. So I think ultimately a worthwhile endeavor, especially because it was split between Artemis and Drakthar, so your 2 primary carries are certainly in a really, really good position in this game. Now Nagia also has a potential threat of this Death Brush coming through here. And also, there's no aggression to be had on the other side of the map. Like, Swain is not breachable by a Jinx this early in the game, especially even with, like, the attention of Killer Queen. Like, there's no way it's going to happen. Is Nagia paying full respect to this trio, man. Like, get baited. Yep, that's it. That's
the ult
ultimate. Has to flash too, but Artemis is just going to flash after him with the onslaught, and Artemis not even going to die because of the Drakthar ult. Well played by this trio, as that's first blood going to Artemis.
Yeah, waited so long to make that happen, but it worked out. Okay, rocket coming across the map. It's not spotted.
Blocked.
It's blocked.
Well played. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good instinct by Huber right there. Again, playing this Nautilus to pretty solid perfection. And again, both of these marksmen grabbing up first tower of the game, splitting that gold evenly between the two of them, as that is a disgusting amount of gold thrown into two of the primary carries here of this team. Now a potential dive to bottom lane, but it's a Rylai swing. You do not want to go diving this person. That's not the move, Chief. Yeah, I think they get that sense as well as just now the deployment. They got maybe 15 seconds maximum to try to force this dive to happen, but it looks like they're not going to. Instead, they're just going to leave Pun to his own devices. As again, Killer Queen not able to find something in response to what happened on the map. As that's never mind, they're going for it. They're going to pop the ultimate. That's going to be the Rylai slowing everybody down. B's going to be stuck underneath the turret. Got the level 6 and is enough to be able to make sure that that's not going to come to anything crazy. As that's going to be 4 plates now split between Vit and Killer Queen on the bottom side of the map. It did end up working. I didn't think it was going to work, but they got the level 6 for Alistar and they found the dive.
Yeah, they ended up waiting for that unstoppable will, or unbreakable will, rather, and it came out, it used it to great effect, had that ignite to cut through the healing, and Pun not quite tanky enough with just the Rylai's in hand, but Drakthar does find the angle to pick up a free mark. Only got a second so far, so not quite at the level not quite at the unstoppable point yet, but he's also doesn't have 3 kills to his name, so it's still a better position than game 1 was. As now Artemis going to hit this tower. He's been mining plates all day. He's got that 1 kill as well, so he's happily racing off to the races in his build path. It's gonna be very interesting come the team fights to see who has the most impact. Fit will have a range advantage for sure, but I feel like Pun and Yado can try and enact a very similar style to what they did in game 4 and just try and bully onto Vit and say, oh, Glory's not going to be able to do anything because we can just put a Drakthar ult down on top of Artemis.
Now, I'm not in love with what I'm seeing from the Malphite build so far, as Nagia's gone for Abyssal Mask, and I do think that Abyssal Mask is criminally underutilized as an item, but who is that Magic Resist Shred for? Is it for Glory? Because we talked about Glory not really having much of an option. I know the Malphite also does primarily magic damage, but I'm not in love with the idea that you're indexing this much this early into magic damage, especially the shred of magic damage, when you've got double marksman on the other side. You could be going into armor. I mean, maybe if you've got an idea, feel free to tell me, but I don't think I love that choice.
I think strictly it's to build a bunch of mana up so he can actually try and contest the wave a little bit more and let him survive in the side lanes against either Yado or Pun. So it's sort of pulling double duty when it comes to side lanes. It lets him push a little bit more aggressive. In the team fights, it's going to help Glory out a little bit. It's certainly the best item you can go for if you want magic resist as a first step because of the catalyst, but other than that, if he didn't go for this early, he'd probably be waiting until like 3rd or 4th item to pick up a Force of Nature, and that's just a little bit too late against this solo lane duo. And Glory's just, that's just dead.
Okay, engagement, Killer Queen. Yes. Not quite gonna fall. Actually, Pun will make sure that he goes down as it's a flash over the wall with the E. A couple of flashes expended right there. As the E is gonna be here on the coverage. Let's see, Pun has Rylai's. Remember, they could keep chasing if they absolutely wanted to, but Nagia's got ultimate, so they're not going to do that one. The only fear that I have in building this early is, yes, your laning phase is going to be better. Yes, you're going to be able to have better impact against Pun and against Yado. Yes, you set up Glory a little bit more. Yes, you have better mana sustain. That's all benefit. But the problem is if you ult into 2 marksmen and either one of them doesn't get hit, then you die because they shred through you because you are Malphite and you probably won't have your shield at that point. You probably will be down all of your armor, and it means that you're going to get ripped through. Now, once next item's done, once it's like, okay, once you have your mythic completed, once your Frozen Heart or your Bramble or whatever it is completed, then I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Like, this ends up being okay. And maybe that's the intention, is Nagia knows this is not a 1-item game spike. This is I need to spike on 3 items so that we can get in a team fighting better. And so that's where Nagia is coming from here. But to me, that takes a lot of the power out of the Malphite to begin this game and a lot of the contest away from the neutral objectives if they ever were to try to fight around one of these.
I suppose looking at what's also in inventory, it allows him to go from maybe more of a it allows him to pick up the steel caps instead of having to rely on the merc treads, which will do a decent amount against the double marksman. utilize.
Give me the Zonias.
Pick up the eye.
They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. There's the hook coming in. Kick back. Yato's gonna go in. Not gonna be able to ult at all. Actually, in fact, Huber. That was really weird ultimate. His pun is teleported into the middle of everybody. Actually has a fantastic angle. Is only about half health despite everybody else getting drained down a bunch. It's really unfortunate 2 members of Cerberus went down before the fight had even started right there, because Pun's ultimate was picture perfect for setting up all of the damage that they could have ever wanted. But unfortunately, I don't know what came over Cerberus, Yato, and Huber more or less kind of running it down right there.
Yeah, Fit also wasn't actually in that fight, so if it was, it could have been worse for Pun, but...
A team more, trying to crack the tower. Rift Herald underneath, and it's Killer Queen from the side trying to find something. Let's see if anything comes through. Drakthar going to have to pop the ultimate. Doesn't have the kick, like you said, yes, and now there's going to be a re-engagement on this front end. Let's see if Pun can help them catch anybody more, as there's potential. That's Gravitum, that's going to lock down a Gia. Klein's going to have to get popped, as that's the spell book utilized to make sure that they do not fall victim to anything else, as mid tower going down does more or less neutralize any gold advantage that was held by Cerberus. They are stuck in a weird position where now the reinforcements come through from Huber and Yato, so they're going to walk up mid lane, and they might just have to cede this tower over, stand at the defense of the inner tower, which will basically give them back the gold lead that they just lost here on the side of Cerberus, back up to about 1k. Which isn't insane, but the Rift Herald going down is the big prize for Team Wales here, as well as a couple of kills. Again, bringing this down from 2,000 gold lead probably to about...
Yeah, picking up a tower, picking up some kills, and some extra Rift Herald gold on top of that. It's worked out pretty well. I think this might actually end up being one of those... But from that, I sort of look at this and think, maybe this is actually a game where I look and don't hate the... hate a rapid-fire cannon angle, because Vit needs to be able to clear the waves, because he's the only one who can do it, and he needs to do that safely, so trying to get that in, and he seems to agree with me. Seems fair, makes a lot of sense, wants to keep a decent amount of distance away from Yato as well.
Yes.
So, this is going to come out.
Forget Yato. You need distance from Pun, because Bun's about to finish Jack's show with Rylai's with ultimate. I mean, he's going to be down to basically 20% movement speed, running away from a Swain who's going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. And again, there's no way to get through the drain tank, as no one has even started the construction of heal cut in any capacity ever. So it feels like Pun's going to live forever in the right circumstance, because that's going to be another play. Killer Queen gets ulted up by Huber. B is going to be on the front line trying to block a little bit for Killer Queen, as that's going to be a flash and a dash over top of the wall. A TP into the Dragon Pit, as Yato is going to join them here. That's going to be B caught up by Pun. Pun's going to try to cut off the angle for Killer Queen and for B to get away from this situation. They're just going to chase down B. Ultimate on the other side. What are we doing? Why are we fighting right there with only 2 members into 3, and now everybody's scattered to the wind? Yato's in a really bad situation, has to E over top of the wall. Now Pun is just going to have to drain tank, and honestly, he might be able to do it. He's full health right now. He's just going to be able to stand in the middle of everybody. Any more damage, Drakthar is going to be able to help out as well in terms of the damage department. That's a shorted ultimate by Nagia, who's not going to be able to get him through. Drakthar not quite enough damage, as Pun's still going in the midst of everything, Bobby. There's going to be another goes down, and everyone's falling down to Pun. He's 1v9ing. He's living up to the namesake, Bobby. Only Killer Queen remains.
God, it just
got him.
They couldn't get through him. They need heal cut ASAP. Someone needs to do it. They didn't have an ignite available because B had been chased away, and Pun comes up huge in that team fight. This is the strongest point for the Swain, and he just got to channel that demonic ascension forever. That was almost a good turnaround by Team Wales, but Pun, look, it's a great setup. B chases 3 away, and they collapse immediately onto Artemis. But here's the thing, Vit is just not involved until way too late, and once the fight begins, Vit tries to do his best, but he gets caught by the Never Move and gets caught in the trap by Pun. They can't do damage to him. Vit is just trying to fire past him and kill the others on the map, but doesn't have the damage yet in the game. And my god, it's just... Yato cleans this one up in the end, but god, oh my god, drain the 3,000 damage. That was the 3v5 essentially.
And look at this, 0 damage from Artemis because he got picked off by Nagia ulting over top of the wall because they did some goon stuff. Huber, the same thing, no damage in that fight. All of it came from Pun, Drakthar, and Yano, which is so necessary in so many fights. It seems like Cerberus always has to rely on Artemis to do all this damage, and I talked about it. Drakthar, Pun finally getting a little bit of credence. Look what my boys can do when they get a chance to go flexing, Mobby. They're making it happen. Drakthar hasn't popped off yet, but he's getting close. He's getting on his second item, and Pun now with the Jack Show. You're not even building heel cut yet. He's never gonna die.
So here's the question: is this a mortal reminder angle from Vit?
He's probably the only one who can apply it consistently, so I think he has to be the one that has it.
You need the armor pen. You need the ability to. You need the heel cut. This might be the actual angle, but otherwise, where else? You're waiting for a Bramble Fest from Nagia? Does Killer Queen go for what's it called? The Kenpun Chainsword? I don't know. You're looking for that third item anyway for a Vit now. Go for
my biggest problem.
Well.
Yeah, see, this is a problem because it's a catch-22. If you throw it onto Vit, you have the only person who will not get pulled into the all-encompassing gravity sinkhole that is Pun's ultimate, that prevents him from taking damage, that heals him, that does a bunch of damage, that slows everybody down, right? Everybody else is melee. You can't actually get out. Like, the only person who might is Glory, Killer Queen, and some down. Like, they're gonna get sucked in. Like, there's no way to get out of it. But the other option is if you build it on Vit, then he's gonna be down that much damage. Like, you're not getting any sort of health scaling with, like, the Lord Doms. You're not getting Infinity Edge any sooner. You're not getting anything like that to help out with the actual damage output of the character. And so they're stuck in a really horrible position against this champion. I love that Cerberus is able to bust out something like this out of nowhere and make it work in a playoff series.
We see. I mean, the Lord Domics from God in terms of just straight up damage into Pun would be just fine. As Killer Queen is now in a situation, he should be able to dash to B in just a second. No, he doesn't have the cooldowns yet.
Over the wall. Okay, that's a big deal. Okay, and Killer Queen just never has the cooldown. He just never gets over the pit, so now they're down their jungler. Pun is going to be here to make sure that nobody can turn the corner either. That's a great Safeguard's like a 5-second cooldown maximum. He certainly should have had it up at some point, but maybe just a little bit too there. Again, Pun is just a living wall.
Okay.
It's going to be a Kindred ultimate pop to make sure that Glory and Nagia can't find anything on the backside of this fight. They end up getting a pretty big ultimate. Well played by Glory right there. But yeah, he ends up waiting it out. Now Pun actually is out of ultimate and is going to go down as Glory out of nowhere starts doing a bunch of damage. Now Drakthar has to carry the back end of this fight, going to get CC'd to death as Yano, the only one remaining with only mana. Vit is excited, going to have to try to find him with this last little rocket, and there it is. That's Team Wales striking back. But after losing their jungler, it just feels like there was such a scattered fight from the side of Cerberus that Wales are the ones that comes out of nowhere.
Team Wales is the team of picking weird champions and making us eat our words. They're gonna try and clean this up. Vit has to try and pick this up. Okay, but now Killer Queen is here. They are going to get away with this Baron take. It looked a little bit dicey, but Glory and Vit doing so much damage. Oh man, that was such a clutch team fight coming out from the side of Team Wales. They needed it. And it comes down to Nagia and Glory being able to chunk so much damage. It's mostly these two in this backline. Drakthar gets the ultimate off, and this rocket is huge, but it gets them all really low. But Glory holds on to that second charge of the perfect execution. The moment they're vulnerable again, picks up 2 instantly, gets a third, and then Vit with the rundown with that Get Excited passive. And the turn onto Baron. This has put Team Wales into a commanding position now in this game. Drakthar still slowly scaling up. He hits his 4 marks. Okay. Now he's a threat.
Now Nagia actually getting right at it. And he's stuck in the gravity sinkhole as there's no way to get out. And multiple members jump into Pun! I don't like that idea. Glory's on the backside trying to make something happen. It's Yano. The Drakthar ultimate is going to get dropped to make sure nobody can go down. Pun on the opposite side actually drain taking Fit to make sure nobody's going to go down as 2 members on the other side of the fight are just getting absolutely blitzed. 5 members still up and available for the side of Cerberus. His Fit can't make it happen. He's excited, but he's going to go down. As that's 4 members now down for Wales. And we're back to the other side where Cerberus is winning team fights again.
There goes the Baron. It was nice, it was short-lived, but I mean, it's technically still around on to B, so maybe if they can recover. And look at that. Look at that damage. It's the fakest shit you'll ever see, because it's all into Pun. Pun is just too goddamn tanky. This is illegal. You should not be able to do 7,000 damage and have no impact.
He got 1 kill over the course of the fight. Okay, Bob. This is another very worrying problem, is that Mountain Soul is going to be coming up, which means that Pun's getting free stats, Pun's getting that soul, that potential shield. I mean, that is the last thing you could ever want, let alone giving those stats over to 2 marksmen, giving it over to Yato, who's already hard to kill. Like, all of them are difficult to kill. Giving those flat stats over to Pun would be just GG right on the spot, which is ridiculous. It is very, very hilarious to see this come through. As again, look, like, Nagia stuck. Why do you engage into play? Look at this. 3 of you are stuck. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit disapproving of Pun stepping up, because I was a little worried that if Killer Queen and Glory were allowed to live a little bit longer. But fortunately, look at the damage that they have on in the backline. It didn't actually end up mattering. But honestly, like, the melee champions having to live in the Swain ultimate forever is just such a taxing thing to deal with.
Yeah, and I mean, they were so close. If Yato hadn't been able to clutch out that stopwatch and then the heal from the Frozen Tomb, and of course the Lamb's fight, that might have actually gone different for Team Wales. But not being able to cut through this pseudo tank of the Lysandra came in huge, and we're still waiting for the heal cut. Come on, someone has to do it.
Somebody has to buy it. I don't even care if it's like Nagia buying an Oblivion Orb or something. Just somebody buy some damn heal cut. Obviously, Pun's been taking quite a bit more damage, hasn't built a ridiculous amount of armor. When the Zonias is done, that is when it'll be a lot harder to try to kill him. I even think that you could have gone like Frozen Heart here and literally just stood on top of it and said, okay, do your worst. Nothing's going to happen.
I mean, the worst Vit can do is apparently 7,000 damage, and
evidently.
Yeah, nothing.
And not kill anybody. Not kill anybody. Yeah, that's the issue. Okay.
No.
So, how close are we to actually getting something more to pop off? Because Glory has shown in the backline that you have the damage to make things work. If Nagia gets to pair with Glory, again, the combination of Nagia's AoE damage with that like Abyssal Mask and the Jack Show is draining people of stats sufficiently for Glory to just clean up the backline, even through Drakthar ultimate. So, like, okay, that's actually big. Killer Queen gets in the backline. Nice kick to put Pun onto the other side of the fight. That was really, really big. Pun is in the middle of everybody, but he's not going to be able to do any damage, unfortunately, as that's going to be that. 2 members gone down. Artemis and Pun both taken out. Fortunately, there's no objectives on the map, so it's just the 2 kills and the shutdown of the play. As the gold is dead even, Mobby. We've been talking about Cerberus having this massive win condition. The Swain's damage is starting to fall off, which means he is basically just a frontliner, as now, Team Wales looking to try to make some front-to-backs happen. You can see when the creativity and when the angles are there for Killer Queen or for Nagia or for anybody else to flank on, they are still in a winning situation.
Florian B looking for something.
Big play. That's Yato. Got jumped on. It's fine.
Just gonna scare him off so they can pick up another tower. And Team Wales, they are keeping this extremely close. This time around, B was in position with Ignite, so Pun couldn't heal forever. Actually started to take damage. Also committing everybody to the kill Pun, to the Pun mission was a big factor in that as well. Instead of just poor Vit firing alone into that behemoth. This time around, now he has completed the stopwatch and will be will be another menace.
Wait, what in the world?
To the next team fight, but
he sold his tier. So this entire game, Pun has actually had a tier. I thought he was going to go on to Cerberus because it makes a lot of sense. You get the shield. You already you do a bunch of damage with like the Cerberus. You're already building a bunch of mana. Like it helps in a lot of ways. And yet he sold it. He had a fully stacked 360 tier. If he finished Cerberus, he gets a fully stacked Cerberus Embrace. No. He just sells it. He tends to maybe not build any more mana, maybe go for more tank items. Maybe he's just trying to build other things. Maybe he needed it to finish the Zonias for the Baron fight that's coming up. But that feels really strange to not have that potential Cerberus to lean onto.
Yeah, it might just be the just make sure that Zonias was complete. It might just be he feels it was just something to get them through the lane. But Killer Queen,
he's dead. Okay, we've seen this one before, Mobby. We've seen this one before. Killer Queen getting picked right before Baron buff, and now they're engaging into it. They know what's going to happen.
Potentially out of position.
or he's on a flank. You can consider one of the as they're going to turn directly into Nagia. They're going to try to find something. That's going to be quite a bit of damage. Nagia is probably just going to have to dump the ultimate into the backline. That's going to help out a lot because that's going to be Glory delivered. Drakthar pops the ultimate. That's going to be one going down as Huber's going down at the beginning of the fight. In the back is Vit still throwing in damage. Pun in the midst of zone.
Oh my God,
only
Glory.
one damage dealer remaining. It's only Artemis to be able to put out damage. He's going to be able to bring down B. He's going to be able to do anything else. He's going to be able to put out the damage. He's on to Glory. He flashes back in.
God.
Are you kidding me? You cannot do that type of thing. And now the Zonius the ultimate. Vit's going to be able to pop him. And that's going to be at least a mid inhibitor going down. As again, Cerberus, they take a coin flip. They end up losing. Vit is everything to this Team Whale squad.
Yeah, Killer Queen, the biggest bait of all, apparently. Just every time he dies, Team Wales pops off on the back end. They're going to pick up the inhibitor. They're going to turn onto the drag.
Okay, Huber's up at 3 seconds. 10 seconds until Drakthar. Yeah, I don't know that they're going to be able to get both towers before everybody respawns, but at minimum, they're going to be able to go for it, try to find something, as that's going to be one tower brought down. I don't know that they should full engage into this. They're not going to be able to finish it. I do not think before additional members are going to be back up.
Oh, no,
they're going to try for it, though. They're going to be able to do it. It's going to get brought down. The Giga's going to get brought down, but it doesn't matter. Glory's on the back side of the pit. Are they going to be able to kill it? They save the Nexus with a blinking tiny health bar here, Mobby. Unbelievable.
They hedged their bets, so Killer Queen...
Okay, this is the problem. Killer Queen, all he has to do is get onto the Nexus. They have to spot him out. Artemis is standing in the base. Yada's going to be able to find Killer Queen. Okay, that's going to be at least a little bit of something. Now they're going to try to catch him down. E was able to get him within range. Yada's going to be able to help try and CCM as he's going to get shoved out. They want to go for the Dragon. That's their big win condition right now, is setting up for the Mountain Soul. It's going to help them so much inside of fights to be able to deny even more damage. Yeah, Killer Queen's trying to get it. He's not going to be able to. They're going to have to give up the Mountain Soul, and that's perfectly fine. The damage is done to the base of Cerberus, but traded back is some counterplay. This is a wild game, Mobby. Everything is on a teeter-totter right now, going back and forth between these two teams. Oh, my goodness.
They tried to split the difference. They tried to say Killer Queen take the Dragon, but then they saw how close it gets, so Killer Queen peeled off the Dragon to try and sneak in, but he couldn't find it, and they get neither. This was such a nail biter, but now it's Mountain Soul's fault, side of Cerberus. They should be in such a great position to win fights from this point on, but now Glory getting closer and closer to that Rabadon's Death Cap. If he grabs that before the Baron fight, maybe they have enough to punch through the shields of Cerberus now. Maybe they're just going to turn onto the Baron themselves. Or is it just a bait?
Yeah, they have to be super careful. I think they can take it relatively easily. It's really hard to engage in enemy territory with your Nexus this damaged on the side of Cerberus. They're waiting for it to tick back up. And the Baron buff, it's a question of whether or not running up mid lane with the Baron buff is going to be their plan, or if they're going to try to crack side towers, get some additional gold, and fight back around the Elder Dragon that's going to be up in a few minutes. It's a 2,000 gold advantage for Wales. They could maybe extend it to 4,000 in the right circumstances around this next dragon, and maybe look for that. Because in the meantime, literally all that's happening is that Artemis is collecting waves in mid to continue to get juiced up. Infinity Edge is done. A Zeal is done as well. I'm assuming that's going to be going into a Runans, which means that like the last Whisper being done as well, he's going for this massive team fighting build to try to match what Vit has been able to accomplish over the course of this game.
Yeah, Vit now himself has the Infinity Edge. Didn't have it quite at that last fight. This time he shall. And once again, it's all coming down to Vit and Glory. Glory has been performing out of his mind in these fights, especially around this Baron. Now he has Rabadons. Can Cerberus stick through it? There is now heel cuts officially on Nagia. They're going to try and break open some towers. They're going to try and build this gold lead a little bit more. Keep the pressure on, try and open up a second inhibitor so they can push into the base more aggressively and threaten that exposed Nexus.
Yes. Okay. Glory has been doing such an amazing job because the setup with Nagia has been insane. The double ultimates to get into the backline has done so much damage to everybody on the side of Cerberus that is what's winning them a lot of these circumstances. That is what's winning them these big team fights as Nagia gets pulled underneath the tower, but it's not going to matter. The siege up from this team, the double cannon minions, difficult to deal with. His Pun's going to try to pull them in. Doing very little damage, minimal damage right now is Pun, but trying to get something accomplished is now Yado going to wrestle back for some vision control around the kind of interior of their base. It's like another wave's going to be crashing in here. Baron buff lasts for another minute, so they got 2 more full minion waves to make this work. They're likely going to be able to push in unless the fight happens underneath this tower. This is really dangerous as well for the side of Cerberus. They don't want to take a fight this far back. Any amount of losing basically gives them the game over to the side of Wales. Pun's going to pop the ultimate underneath the tower. Huber's going to go into zone. His Glory's basically almost dead to start things off. As Artemis and Drakthar are way too far back to be able to put out damage. That's Killer Queen who's getting a pop. His Guardian Angel's going to go down. As Nagia also on the front line steps into the Drakthar ultimate. He's going to have to flash out the backside of the fight. His Glory's TPing back in only right now, as that's going to be damage going in. Artemis Gale forces into the middle of the team and finds multiple kills. Now it's just Glory. Draktar's going to go into stopwatch, and that's going to be him being shut down. Now Glory is going to have to get some damage done, but unfortunately, I don't think he believes that he's going to be able to clean up Artemis at this point, sitting on nearly 3,000 health. This is just a 3-for-3 as Artemis able to make the big team fight damage come to fruition. I believe the inhibitor coming back up in the mid lane. Now things start to stand or normalize for the side of Cerberus. They might be able to step back onto the map. 2 minutes until Elder, and just a little bit of time until the Baron falls off, as this fight was massive.
It was so big. They did so much damage. They made Glory evacuate immediately, and because he's not there to threaten the backline, there is a chance to get onto Vit and make him suffer. They find a small catch onto him. Actually, there's the hook from Huber, and they just collapse. They kill him straight away. And now Glory's able to join just a bit too late. He picks up Yardo to make it even, but it's the base defended. Now, this is where it gets dicey. Elder Drake.
Yes.
You don't want to give up Elder Drake to Team Wales.
No, you do not.
But you have to be so careful not to give up mid position either. Because if you give up mid position and go and commit all in for this, Team Wales can just push down and end the game.
Show me the items. I need to see where Artemis is at. Artemis was super close to finishing Runan, super close to finishing Last Whisper. There's a lot of things that can be done for Artemis here, because that is something going on right now, as both teams in the mid lane, Huber fishing with hooks to try to get something done. And again, you have to be super careful of the wraparound completely. They have a lot of vision that needs to be established to ensure that Glory can't go diving into base, Killer Queen can't go diving into base, and just run after either the top or the mid inhibitor alongside the Nexus, as red buff's going to be dropped onto Artemis. It's going to be stolen away by Killer Queen, actually, as that's it's a very small thing, but it is something that actually, did that get taken by? No, it didn't. Actually, Artemis got that somehow with a single auto in the midst of everything, as Killer Queen not able to grab it up. Are you sure?
You're being fooled by
I do see it. I do see it. You're right. Yeah, classic. Yeah, classic.
Soul marker.
I still need to see items. I haven't seen what Artemis doesn't seem to have Runan, so I'm guessing he finished Lord Doms after that fight. Which now things are going to start off. Run in the middle of everything is going to drop that big play. Glory has to get driven out of the fight. Nagia misses the ultimate as well as Killer Queen on the backside of the fight trying to find something. That's Nagia or Killer Queen going down.
Yado just stays alive forever.
Yep, there's nothing to be done. A lot of frontliners getting swapped out. Now Nagia taking damage from every single possible source. That's 2 kills over to Drakthar. And nobody has gone down now for the side of Cerberus, as Vit is trying to find some sort of angle to go in. Going to get slowed down. Drakthar is going to run him down as well, as I don't think that Vit's going to have the damage to outduel Drakthar until Vit is going to come through. Now Yado's going to have to bring him down on his lonesome. The stun's going to come through. That's going to be Pun finding that kill, and now Elder Dragon is going to be on the table. Okay. There's their defense remaining. Glory is still alive somewhere on the map. Actually just got back to the base. Artemis is going to push in for mid inhibitor, as that's a TP. They're going to be going for a base push now. There's only 2 members left for the rest of the thing. Can't they? I think Glory's got the damage. They just have to rely on B to be able to do quite a bit. That's going to be a dive potentially from B. Try to stop up the wave. That's Glory going in. Going to get rooted up. And that's their last remaining damage. The other has to flash out the backside of the fight. Yado's not going to be able to tag him with anything, as they still have only 8 seconds now until Killer Queen. I think they should back. I don't think they should try to coin flip this, but they're going to go for it anyway. That's damage going down on the 1 tower. That's a kick through everybody to try to find it. Glory's going to go ulting in. They're going to find a kill. Glory can't find one of the options. He gets rooted up by Artemis, and that's probably going to be the end of the game right there. Nagi is going to go late. He's going to try to find the knockup, but Pun's going to slow down, and nobody's going to be there. And that's going to be Cerberus. They turned it around. We thought they were going to be the worst coming into playoffs, and they just beat Wales to be able to continue on in their playoff lives.
The indecision, the hedging the bets, it bites them. Cerberus come up huge. They just